we get started, I want to show you something that has made me extremely happy this week. And I'm just going to show you. Look at this. So instead of starting these 5 plants from seed, like I've started all of these from seed, and I will still start some of these. For example, Marigolds, I will just throw some seeds out. But I have so many that sell seeds. Some years I don't even need to. And last summer, I did not need to set out any marigold seeds. They all came out all on their own. But what I want to talk about is saving money by, let's say you go to the store, you buy one Coleus plant that you love, and maybe it's, I don't know, let's say $4 to $7. Bring it home, and what you're going to do is you're going to take cuttings. You're going to propagate and water. So a lot of these plants that I'm going to talk about today, they are easily propagated in water. And also there's a couple that you might be able to divide, but for the most part, they're all going to be propagated by a cutting and just rooted in water. So I'm just going to go through the list and talk about how I do each plant. So where did this Impatiens come from? Well, this beautiful, gorgeous Impatient self-sown itself late summer in my green stock. And the very night we were going to get our first frost, I went out to cover my green stalks, and I saw this little seedling. It was just barely had, 2 true leaves. And I thought, I can't let it die. It would die. Impatiens are like a zone, I think 10. Very much an annual for me. Of course, if you live somewhere like a zone 10 or above, you may be able to grow these year round. But I was like, I'm not going to let that guy die. So this little planter was out there on my little patio table. It was empty at that time. So I just stuck that little seedling in there, brought it in, didn't have a whole lot of hope for it. And I just stuck it in my kitchen window, and then it lived. So that was step 1. And then over the next, 4 months, it has grown into this cute little guy in this teeny weeny little pot with soil that was already used for something else. And it looks so healthy and so happy. And the flowers are actually so gorgeous. And I did not have any Impatiens in my garden this color this past summer. I only had white, red, and a very dark purple. So this is actually a cross from some of those other plants. And the seed came from, one of the plants I had in the garden this past summer. And it is just stunning. I love it. It's got a purple center. I don't know if you can see that real well, but it's a really pretty, kind of a medium coral pink. I just think it's gorgeous. So this is what I'm trying to talk about in this video. You go to the store, you buy one annual like this. Of course, this guy was free. What you're going to do at that point is take cuttings. I never started Impatiens from seed anymore because they take 10 to 12 weeks, I think. Let me double check because I made a cheat sheet here and I'm right. Yeah. No. Yes. Yes. Well, I didn't even write it. I didn't write it for the Impatiens. In my mind, it's somewhere between 8 to 12 weeks for impatient seeds. That's a really long time. That's a lot of light that you're devoting to growing those plants. I did grow them from seed one time, and then I said, never again. We're just going to buy them, because often you will find like 6, 12 plug cells at the nursery for, very reasonable price. So that's what I normally do. But also what I do in the summer, I'll take cuttings. And there are so many branches. I don't know if you can see how this has started to branch out. It's almost like a tomato. So you've got a main stem right here. You've got a leaf node, and then you've got a sucker right there. So from this little one plant, I could probably get at least 5 to 7, 8 free plants and still let this guy look fairly cohesive, not completely chopped bald with his haircut. But then I have all those free plants. So I love this little guy so much. I have an idea of where I'm going to put the cuttings. It's really early for me to start rooting these in water to get the cuttings. So I'm thinking, let's give this guy another month to finish blooming and make me so happy in the kitchen. I love seeing him in my kitchen window. I think I am going to pot him up though and give him a bigger pot and maybe a little bit of food and a little bit of new soil. But once the flowering kind of slows down, right now I've got tons of new buds coming on. don't know if you can see those. I'm going to take the cuttings, I'm going to rain them in water. When they root really well, I'm actually going to put them into some little cells with some soil, and then I'll have my plants ready for when the temperatures at night are above 50. You really don't want to put Impatiens out until your temperatures are similar to when you would put your peppers out. But these guys grow in the shade, and I think that's why this guy has done so well in the house. It's because he is a natural with low light. But look at that, it's just gorgeous. This has made my whole winter. I did not have any indoor vegetable plants like tomatoes like I did last year this past winter. So I was really happy to have this project, and really happy I took a chance on saving that poor little seedling, because he definitely would have died that night. Okay, so Impatiens, that is number one plant that I do not grow from seed anymore. Number two are Pansies and violas. So pretty much those can almost live year round here for me in zone 7, 8-ish, kind of like in the middle. And I do overwinter quite a few things that are zone 8. So very mild winters. It's unusual to get below 10 degrees, although we did have 3 nights that got down into 10 degrees this past month. And all of my pansies are still perfectly happy and beautiful, and the violas. So I do not start viola or pansies from seed anymore. I just buy the plants, and they're so cheap. I mean, you can find them on sale all the time. So you can also root either one, viola or pansy. So if you want to take a bunch of cuttings, you just want about one big pansy, start taking cuttings off of it, root them, and then you've got a bunch of free plants from that same mother plant. You're just basically taking clones. So it's going to look just like the parent, the mother, whereas my impatient did not look like the mother. It wasn't a cutting, it was a seed that actually fell, and it had been cross-pollinated, I guess, by the bees, and it had characteristics of another plant. So the colors kind of mingled, and this is what I got, which is just stunning. Maybe I should try to patent this. I have no idea how to do that. That's like something for the next 20 years of my life to try to figure that out, because that seems really complicated. Okay, so pansy viola, that would be plant number 2 that I do not start from seed unless I want to eat pansies. So you can eat pansy flowers. They're so pretty. Put them on cupcakes. If I was going to bake cupcakes and make pansy cupcakes, I would probably go ahead and want to just grow my own. Now, I have ordered some pansy seeds because I found some that are solid black and they're gorgeous, and I want to start those for Halloween. But according to my little cheat sheet that I made today, that would be an 8 to 12 week venture. So for summer and spring, if I want pansies, I'm going to just buy some. I'm going to root them. And actually, I'm not going to do either because I have so many outside. I don't need any. They all still look beautiful and healthy. And when it starts getting hot here, they're going to really putter out and get leggy and weedy looking. And then that's when I'm really going to pop in a bunch of Impatiens in place of pansies. So on to plant number 3, which would be marigolds. Marigolds are so easy to grow from seed. They take very little time, maybe 4 to 6 weeks, if that. That is a flower you could definitely just direct sow. If you do not want to direct sow your marigolds, just go to the store, buy one pretty marigold, take the cuttings, root them. They will root very quickly. And then you just pop them in the ground, and they will take off. I've done that so many times. In fact, marigolds break off kind of easy. Anytime I break off a marigold, I just go take that little piece that broke off and I stick it in the ground somewhere, and then I have a whole new plant. So definitely marigolds, you know, you can find those in the spring really cheap, like a 6-pack, a 12-pack, you know, when Lowe's is having like their Spring Fest. Those are the type of plants that are going to be on those deals. It's these annuals that you can buy fairly cheaply. I mean, you could cover a huge section. Let's say you get a 12-pack of marigolds. Put them in the ground, let them start growing, because they're fairly small when they're in those little packs at a discounted price. Let them get a little bushy and big, and then start taking your cuttings and then root them. Go put them all over your yard, wherever you want to put them. I did read the other day, though, that if you're wanting to use marigolds for nematode control in the soil, it's not the first year. It's actually into the future, like the next growing season, where that benefit will be there. But it's still a beautiful flower to have. The scent can repel certain pests. The deer hate it. The deer hate marigolds. So that's one benefit. And maybe you can even use it as a trap crop for Japanese beetles. They really love to eat on marigolds as well. They seem to like yellow a lot too, and orange. Okay, so plant number, are we all the way down to number 4 now, is petunia. Petunias, believe it or not, you can take cuttings from those and root them in water. I've done it several times. It does take longer, and the plant may not be as full and bushy as the original, but you can definitely do that. It's fairly easy. Petunias are easy to grow from seed, but they require a lot of time. So we're looking at, I'm thinking 8 to 10 weeks. Let me check on my sheet. Oh, 10 to 12 weeks. So even longer. That's a long time under grow lights, because you're going to have to start them indoors because they're very frost sensitive. They don't like the cold. They're similar to like your Coleus and peppers. They need to have a warm night before they go outside. Usually, I mean, I will say they are more frost tolerant than peppers and Coleus, but they're still very tender, and that's a long time. So I used to grow petunias. I've grown a few different varieties. One was gorgeous. I may grow that one again, but it takes a long time. That's a lot of light to devote, a lot of resources indoor in your indoor growing space. So I like to go to clearance racks when petunias have already been out for, like, let's say 2 to 4 weeks. They're ready to move those plants, and you can get these containers of petunias. And if they're really full of plants, usually there's more than one plant in there, and you can actually just divide up. And you've seen me do this last summer when I found all those gorgeous white and purple petunias that were striped. The containers were so full, they were overpacked with plants. So I just kind of gently pulled apart several of the individual plants that were in there. And so I have my Christmas cactus here to kind of show you an example. So this actually is like 3 separate individual plants in one pot. So let's pretend it's a petunia. If I was to buy this as a pot like this at the store, maybe on clearance, maybe I want to play full price, but I can divide that into, this would make like 3 different plants. So I do that a lot too as well. And so you just want to look at the main stem to see if you're dealing with a pot that has multiple plants or just one plant. You can see if you look down in here at my Impatiens that it's only one stem. It is just one stem that came out of the earth or the soil or the ground or the pot. There's no way I could divide this. The only way I can propagate this is to take cuttings or save the seeds. But not all plants are like that. And but we're just talking about plants today that mostly you're going to propagate by cutting. And so then we're going to move on to plant number 5, one of my favorites. It is gorgeous and beautiful. It's Coleus. And Coleus, it is also like a single stem plant. It's just going to come out of the seed as a one single stem, but it's going to branch. It's going to get suckers. It's going to get full. And just like basil, the more you kind of prune it up, the bushier and beautiful and branching is going to happen. So I like to propagate my Coleus by cuttings all the time. You could go into the store just buy one beautiful Coleus. Coleus can be very expensive. But if you just buy one and you take some cuttings and you root them, then you're going to have a lot of free plants. And then once those free plants, those cutting plants start to grow and sucker out and get bigger and fuller, you can take cuttings off of them. And so you just keep the cycle going. So sometimes I do start Coleus from seed. Last year, we must have had a super duper mild winter because I did not have to start, well, I did start some, but I had so many Coleus last summer. No, I had so many self-seed and actually germinate and grow that I had volunteer self-seeded Coleus, but then I had grown a little cup of them. So I do the block method when I start my peppers and eggplants and tomatoes, and I had started a small little block cup of Coleus. So I had so many Coleus plants this past summer. I think if I need to save space in my growing system this year, my grow rack, I may just skip the Coleus and maybe I'll just go buy me one. You know, Coleus, this is kind of a questionable area because they are expensive. And I have Coleus seeds, and I think I even ordered some new Coleus seeds. So I may break whatever I'm telling you on this one, because they are kind of expensive. But all of the other plants are usually those plants that are on sale in those little packs in the spring when everyone's out there shopping. Coleus doesn't take too long to grow from seed either. It's only about 6 to 8 weeks. So the point of this video was, don't, grow things that you can get super cheap. Save that grow space for things that are more expensive, that you don't want to go to the nursery and buy. Let's say zinnias. You can grow zinnias from seed, direct sown, so easy. But if you go to the nursery, they're going to sell those zinnias very expensive. I think they're too expensive. You can also root and have more plants from zinnias with cutting. And that brings me to point number 2 of this video. And I even wrote it here on the piece of paper. Never waste a broken plant. Okay, so last summer I broke off one of my Queen Lime zinnia branches. And I was like, oh man. And I thought, I'm just going to put this right here in the soil and see what happens. Now, in my mind, I didn't think you could root a zinnia cutting, because I thought they were mostly used for like bouquets and cut flowers. And then I came back maybe, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks later, and it was still alive, that cutting that I stuck in the ground. And so I dug it up and I looked, and it had roots. It had grown roots. So whenever you have a broken plant, for your own information and for sharing with others, because that's how everyone learns, is by sharing, put it in the ground, see what happens. Keep it in some moist soil. If it roots, you've learned something new and you have a new free plant. So anytime I break off a plant, I don't care what it is, I stick it in some moist soil or the ground. Sometimes I'll try to put it near the plant I just broke it from, so I don't forget what it is. And you'll be surprised in how many free plants that you will gain that way. So I hope this video helped you kind of free up some space in your grow room under your lights, and also maybe save yourself some money when summer rolls around. So that's it, guys. I hope I will see you soon and you are having a great gardening week. And I know that my camera's been going in and out. But I just wanted to do the video here today, sit in the sun, have my little plants here beside me. Yep. So I will talk to you soon. Bye.